we're going to go ahead and go in session. Now call this a workshop meeting of the Jacksonville City Council to order. Council, you have a copy of the proposed agenda for tonight's meeting, and we have, I entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed. Next, we have an adoption of minutes and consent items. The minutes are for the May 21st, 2024 regular meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed. All right, we go down our discussion items for tonight, and we have first up is number 6, which is an update from Sturgeon City.
Mayor, I'm going to get the clicker to Lisa real quick. As soon as the right screen's on there, I started touching it early, so just stop touching it. As soon as the screen gets there, Mayor, we'll be ready. Try now.
My water's got a little bit of a...
Let Lisa do it.
Are you playing a game? One more.
I'm close.
Okay, yay! So, hello guys, I'm Lisa Marabito, the Executive Director of Sturgeon City. In attendance, I also have my Board Vice Chair, Charles Eford, and Marianne Williams, Board Treasurer. Thanks for having us tonight. Come on, there we go. So Sturgeon City's culture. So for not so much y'all, but people on TV or watching on Facebook, not Facebook, but YouTube. I watch on Facebook, YouTube all the time, so just FYI. A little background for those watching online. In September 7th, 2000, a meeting of Jacksonville City Council took place in the admin building at Sturgeon City. City Council decided, man, mess it up, man, fix it, man, never make it happen again. And so while the city was already fixing the problem, Sturgeon City was created for the third part of it of not letting it happen again. We at Sturgeon City take that to heart, and we feel it's our duty to continue that. So sturgeons are a keystone species. The sturgeon's a fish. Keystone species are the glue that hold a habitat together. And so that's why we are named after the fish sturgeon. Sturgeon fish only come to clean water, and so we know you guys have made a change based on the fact there are sturgeons there now. And there are sturgeon because we get a lot of phone calls from fishermen loving to tell us they found a sturgeon. And I'm like, put it back. Part of Sturgeon City was created to tell the story, and so on average, about 90% of our field trips chooses a wetland walk as part of their 4 stations for our field trips. And during that wetland walk, which is a half an hour, we tell the history and the story of Sturgeon City and the change that the city of Jacksonville made and the ownership that they took care of and how we've changed it, and that's why. So last year, or so far this year, we've had 5,000 field trip attendance. So I would say, 4,500 have heard the story at least this year, just from this year, let alone the many, many other years. And that's just field trips, and we tell the story to pretty much every single program as well. So our mission at Sturgeon City is to champion environmental and STEAM education, STEAM being science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Shaping futures by nurturing leaders and stewards of both the environment and the sciences. Our vision embraces a future where Sturgeon City's environmental and STEAM education sparks transformative change. We foresee a bright future in our community guided by individuals who are not just passionate about the environmental stewards, but innovative STEAM thinkers. So we aim for a world with a robust link between environmental responsibility and STEAM excellence to pioneer global solutions to make those changes. So our core values are educational excellence and innovation, environmental stewardship, empowerment and leadership development, and community collaboration and inclusion. So this is the things that we are having coming up in this coming year, our programs. So most of these programs are September to May. We have homeschool science that's September to May. It's weekly. It's once every Thursday from 12 to 3, and we teach homeschool science to children so that the parents don't have to teach it, and we do hands-on learning. Sturgeon City Sprouts, we just created this year. It's a caregiver and me, parent and me, 1 to 4-year-olds program, and they get to do interactive sciencey things. So little learner or little builders, so they were able to, and we in essence taught them physics by doing bowling and pushing over dominoes and stuff like that. So just getting started. Little Learners is a drop-off program that's once a month. It's 3 to 5-year-old. It's for our preschools, and it's an hour and a half, and they get to do really hands-on science learning, take nature walks, all of that stuff. Teen Science Cafe, we are one of, I believe it's 48 in the nation. So we are very excited that we are Teen Science Cafe. There's only 4 in North Carolina, and we are one of those 4. 2 are in Raleigh, and 1 is at Aurora. And then we just was gifted the Teen Catalyst Leadership Program to go along with our Teen Science Cafe, and we were specifically asked to be a part of it because of our Teen Science Cafe's responsibility and greatness. Sensory Science is once a month. That's for our low sensory sensitive, our autistic and neurodiverse. So we lower the lights, we have soft, calm music, we talk in soft, calm voices. At a field trip, we're like, hey, welcome to Sturgeon City. At Low Sensory Science, thanks for coming. And they have headphones, they have communication cards, they have sunglasses, they have whatever they need. They can spend all 2 hours or 1.5 hours at a single station if they want to, or they can do multiple stations. We have many different things that they don't like. One child doesn't like birds, so anytime we do something with birds, he does not go to that station. We also have Camp Sturgeon Spring Break. Obviously, that's once a year. And then we have Camp Sturgeon Summer Camp, which I'll go to in a moment. Ignite STEM, we are actually not doing this year. I just talked to Onslow County Schools. We're swapping it out for Summer Science Series. And then we have Schools Out program for when it's non-federal holiday and it's a teacher work day. And then obviously we do tons of outreach programs and tons of field trips. So with Camp Sturgeon, we do 8 weeks. This year, last year we did 9 weeks. It just depends on how the calendar falls. You can see there are a variety of different STEAM and environmental aspects of them. All 8 weeks we do 1st and 2nd grade, 3rd and 4th grade, 5th and 6th grade. In addition to that, we have 2 weeks where we do kindergarten camp and 2 weeks where we do middle school camp. In addition to all of that, we do tons of field trips. So those field trips include Duke Marine Lab is coming 4 or 5 times this summer. We have Surf Cities Camp, Parks and Rec. They're bringing 140 kids each time. So somehow we're going to have 140 kids in addition to 3 weeks of 3 camps. And then obviously we continue our partnership with New River Institutes, and we're hosting the science, the leadership, and the arts this year at Sturgeon City. And I will be honest, guys, we are completely at capacity with doing all of that. And if we had more space, which I will talk about later, with an outdoor classroom, we could expand that capacity and have more. We have spring field trips that we turn away multiple times a year from our schools. The only time that we're not busy with field trips is September, because they just got back to school, and December because it's the holidays. Other than that, I can most definitely probably book 2 field trips easily. It's every day. I have field trips Monday through Friday, so I could easily do 2 or 3 more days of an extra field trip. And they have to be in the morning. We can't put them in the afternoon because of buses. So we already have tons of bus concerns. So after that, on top of the programs, we do Sturgeon City mission-based events that are very family-focused to promote interactive learning amongst the family and community engagement. So we start off the year in March with Spring Family Bingo. We have our Cleanup Day, which is in response to Global Recycling Day in March. We do Earth Day, and this upcoming year we're going to do such a thing called Sky Celebration. We just had Celebrating Black Scientists the last Friday. In July 27th, we'll have the Lego tournament. I have talked to boys and girls, Community Parks and Rec, Onslow County Parks and Rec, library, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, every community partner you can think of we have coming to this. I just was in a meeting this morning with the Girl Scouts, and they're very upset that I will not allow teenagers to compete. I'm only allowing 5 to 13-year-olds, so now apparently I got to put on my list a teenager later night. So I'm like, okay, we'll figure this out. And
City has a team though.
You got some old farts that like Legos too. I do a senior citizen would invite me.
So we also, in August, we'll have a summer bash, which is where we have a band and barbecue and a good old time, a silent auction, and then we have the end of summer open house so that we can teach everybody that what we do September to May and kind of do interactive activities. September, we also do fall family bingo because we got hounded that one time a year was not enough and they wanted it monthly, and I said no, but I'll give it to you one more time because I was like, I can't do this. And then September 21st is National Cleanup Day, so we'll be hosting that. October is Spooktacular, Jolly Jamboree is in December, and then Let It Snow program is all December long. So you can come as a family or just a group. We have a lot of people that come from out of town that have found our planetarium, and we put planetarium stuff at the airport and all the other places. And so they'll come in just to do our planetarium, and they'll lay on the floor with their blankets and pillows and watch. It's a Christmas sing-along, and it's old Christmas music, and it looks like it's snowing in there. It's amazing. So a couple things that we've added next year, I said, is the sky celebration. It's going to be the same day as Earth Day. It is where we'll have an astronomer come in and talk about the sky, and then I'm going to have a guided telescope set up over the site so that they can look at different things, and an astronomer talk to them about what they're seeing in the telescopes. We're also, like I said, about the Girl Scouts, we're adding that, and then we're also adding a middle girl event or middle school girl event or program. My numbers are really, really amazing with girls, but there is a disconnect from ages 11 to 15 on the decline of girls engaged in STEM. And so we're really gonna try to figure out how to emphasize that. Okay, so my program numbers. From 2021 to 2022, we had 9,000, and then 2022 to 2023, we had 14,747. Not only did that's a 63% increase in participants, but it's also a 23% increase in programs offered. So we added last year, in the past 2 years, we had a Spanish program that was spoken in Spanish. We brought on the low sensory program. We brought on a couple adult programs and stuff like that. We did adult science trivia with alcohol. So we are gonna probably do 2 more adult science nights, one being the science behind distilling whiskey, and the other is a forensic night. So we're gonna solve murders by doing blood splatter and fingerprinting and stuff like that. So. So our impact so far this year, we have crushed last year with 21,000 over the 255 programs in the 338 days as of yesterday. We've added new exhibits, and we're putting a wetland mural around the front clarifier. I really invite everybody that's not been to Sturgeon City for other than an event to come when it's an educational day, because I would love for you to see all of our educational exhibits that we have set up. We have the bear now, a taxidermy bear. We have 16 taxidermied animals that came from Winston-Salem that were gifted to us that are all native to Onslow County. We have tons of fossils that you can put your hands on and stuff like that, and then many others. So I would very love for you guys to come by to see those things. Also, so beyond our mission-based and programs and events, we rent the facility. So 3 types of rentals we've had recently or in the last year and a half is we just had the AKA's Hat, Heels, and Horses Kentucky Derby. It was inside and outside. That corner picture is the AKA's. They know how to set up a party for sure. And they had horses on site. And you got to take your picture with the horse. You got to have bourbon tasting. You got to have wine tasting. It was a fantastic event. Then in addition to that, we had the North Carolina Soil and Erosion yearly
annual training conference.
And a training conference. It was a 2-day event, and from that was 65 room nights. And then we obviously, most of you attended in your General Al Gray's 95th birthday celebration. At that event, we had the active commandant in attendance, I believe 14 past and present flag officers and a Medal of Honor winner. By hosting it at Sturgeon City, we didn't have to require anybody to have base access, and so we appreciate, and everybody appreciated that they did not require those logistics for that. So 2021 to 2022, we had 8,236 participants, 34 room nights, and 71 rentals. Last year, we had 15,624 room nights and 99 rentals. So that is a 39% increase in rentals, 84% increase in participants, but it's an outstanding 161 increase in overnight stays last year. Last fiscal year, which is 365 days, we had 282 programs, 99 rentals, for a total of 381 programs and events. We are never not busy. Saturdays are usually rentals, about twice a year, average obviously 99. We have 52 weeks in a year, so we average over 2 events a week, but we average 3 programs to every 1 event. So we are doing what you all wanted established us to do. So far this year, we've had 88 rental or events with 16,400 plus participants and 587 overnight stays. We happily donate our space to other civic communities, nonprofits, and education partners. So the USO Kids Ball hold their ball there every year, and we sponsor that for them. We have sheriff's training. Onslow County Schools is obviously a very close partner of ours. We had the college night, which had 65 colleges there, and all the kids were able to come through and meet with the colleges. We have a robotics expo for middle school and elementary schools, and we just had 2 art shows. I will say that the art shows, we will not probably be having again on the scale because we had 1,700 people show up for the elementary art school in 1 day. And we can't sustain that capacity. They were parked all the way to Riverwalk. So we also do 30% off for nonprofits on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then 30% off Sundays through Thursdays for city functions. So far this year, as of yesterday, we've had 338 days, hosted 255 programs, 88 events for a total of 343 things. So once again, we're busy. So what's next? So as I said earlier, the City Council met in September of 2000, which means we're going to be 25 next year in September of 2025. So we are looking forward to that. We're looking how we're going to celebrate it, all of that stuff. And along with that, we'll be developing a 10-year plan. So at this point, we're gathering information from all of our stakeholders through a survey and different options. And we'll be putting together a strategic committee, which obviously will have the city every step of the way and all of our partners every step of the way. Our next big focus is growth that will include an outdoor classroom and a pollination garden. This will help with the capacity issues a little bit and give us more opportunities for environmental and STEAM lessons. So this is kind of what I envision a little bit for the outdoor classroom and the pollination garden. Our tagline is green time, not screen time. So not only will it be teaching, great for teaching, but it's amazing health benefits for our kids to be decreasing cortisol levels, reducing stress, increasing the ability to focus. That's even proven in our ADHD children, boosting immune function and lowering blood pressure, to name a few. And so we think what we see is a couple covered areas that we can teach under so that we'll have additional classrooms. We want to have a raised beds, so we will have ADA compliant raised beds. I see us working with the senior center and stuff, and they can come out and work in the garden. I see us working with Carabel. I see us working, and then obviously on a lower level, we'll have our students and everybody in the community raised bed gardens, permeable pavers so it won't reflect harshly on the environment, and all native plants so that I can teach the native plants and have a pollination way station and stuff from the Sturgeon City Park to us and then to further areas. So I just want to say thank you. I get to see the positive impact every single day of what we do at Sturgeon City. I get to hear the stories from the children and the parents. And I don't think you understand how honored I feel to work there all the time and witness the change that we make. And this is very close to my heart because obviously my kid went there for 7 years when he was young. And it's the reason he was always loving math and science. But when he went there that first time, he said, I don't want to go anywhere else. Like, this is his place. And so he found his place there. And so I get to see that very often. There's some really great feedback stories. Like, I just had one of my teachers was hunted down by a parent 4 weeks later and told how important she taught sharks to the child and how important that was and how she hasn't stopped talking about sharks since then. And then we've had another kid that went to a whole nother science place and he out-talked them about snake identification because we taught snake identification. And so there's just a lot of stuff that we get to do and the impact that we made, and you guys as City Council created this place. And I don't think you understand the importance unless you're there every day, what it means to the people here in the community, so. Any
Mayor,
questions?
before you ask questions of Lisa, I was going to add that part of our discussions have been the impact over 24 plus years is incredibly evident, and the partnership is very strong. So for this team and the vision, for the staff side, the community impact's incredible. What we're hoping to see is this is phase one. This first 25 years come next year, it's complete. It shows a lot of success, and looking at what Lisa's team's trying to plan for next year and the years therefore, we want to be an active partner to see the next steps. That site looks incredible. There's a lot of things that have happened in the first 25 years. I think in the next 5 years, we have the ability to make some other things happen on site that can not only tell the story, but can expand the services. I don't know how you do 343 programs in 338 days. I don't know why you exclude old folk from playing with Legos. But if they have that, if there's some other utility there that we're not tapping into, I just know that we can reach even more people based on what Lisa says is the vision, what their board has talked about the vision, and for us on the staff side, they're an excellent partner for community things that we can't handle and we wouldn't have in the community without them leading the way. So just like I've never heard of STEAM before until they came up with the concept, but I know that's awesome because now we're adding arts to all this other stuff, and that's just not something we do with the city. We focus on our New River Institutes. You know, that's our educational things. Other things, we do after school programs, but we don't do it at that level. And this is a partnership that really gears us from first and second gear, maybe to third, fourth, and fifth. And so I think there's a value there. And so that's why we wanted to bring back what Lisa had presented to us to the council so you can see it and get ready for the next phases.
I really like the green time versus screen time.
Me too.
That's a really great concept.
I did steal it.
Because I
will say I stole
think
it.
kids spend a little too much time on the screen, you know,
If we-
on the phones. But I did have a question. You have a pretty sizable volunteer staff that helps you?
No, sir, because our volunteer staff has to be background checked and drug tested. Everybody that interacts with the children has to be background checked and drug tested. A lot of times we don't see the commitment that we need to invest that money. And then a lot of times we have a lot of concerns about how you interact with the children. A lot of people want to be the grandmother and hug on them and stuff like that. But that's not the way that you're allowed to be anymore. And so we have to be very strict. So we have a lot of volunteers that are 18 and under. We are very strong in that. We do not have a lot of adult volunteers unless it's at events. Our 18 and under, we have booked solid a lot of volunteers this summer that are 15, 16, and 17. And we do a lot of training with them and stuff like that. We do SAT hours, beta hours, honor society hours, you name it. We do all of those hours. And in addition to that, we, based on how many hours they work with us, is like a title they get with us. So,
It sounds like you really got it going on down there, and kudos to you and your program down there. As far as the city's concerned, I think it's a great investment we've made down there.
we appreciate it.
Thank you.
One thing I will say, I've been to several programs, several events. We'll talk about the AK event and the bourbon.
Yeah.
I won't discuss that. But it's remarkable what you guys do down there.
Yeah.
You know, I went to the Black Scientist event you had last week, and I always believe you got to see it to be it. You know, I don't know who knows, but I've published before poetry, and I had to start seeing Black writers before I even started publishing. So it's, if you're not in the room to see those things or understand that you can do those things, and a lot of times it takes somebody that looks like you before you can do it, or somebody to reach down to you and have a conversation with you, So I really enjoyed that. We had folks from a local area, that had in the STEAM, and I do like STEAM because of the arts component of it, that are in those fields. So I thought that was wonderful. One question I had to ask you, though, is that I was reading that you have a lot of students from the base, correct?
We do get a lot of students come on from base. So we have field trips all the time, and we also do outreach. So there'll be a whole week during the summer where we're taking field trips to base. And then a lot of our field trips come from there. And then we also have a lot of participants that are because whenever they sign up, we ask for their zip code, we ask for their a lot of grant information, like where they come from. And so we see how far out our homeschool, like we have people coming from Pender, on Jones, and Carteret for our homeschool and stuff, because we've started very early and we've maintained that professional relationship with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, base, big time.
And I was wondering if you had got any federal funding because of the programs.
So where's all your funding coming from?
Grants. So we have the North Carolina Museum of Natural Science has a science museum grant program, and we're a recipient of that. We have just received for the past 2 years ARPA money from them. Obviously, we received money from the TDA. We received money from the county. We received money from the United Way. I write also, in the past, we've received Wells Fargo, GlaxoSmithKline. I'm writing a grant literally right now for Burroughs Welcome for a college resume builder for our high school students, our sophomores and juniors. That will be a February to August creative and research independent project, but they also have to plan a cleanup, create 4 booths that's going to be at Earth Day, and do a citizen science project that is leadership building and teamwork building. A lot of what we see from our kids is the lack of teamwork these days. They don't want to work in teams. And yes, about screen time, we see the mental breakdown because we don't allow screens. We don't allow watches, we don't allow phones at Sturgeon City, and so we see them, the addiction pulling back from them when they're there. We do allow 10 minutes of YouTube educational videos, but we do not go past 10 minutes. And then on Friday, I do allow movie if everybody's good. But they've been there for 40 hours, so by that point, I'm putting an hour-and-a-half movie in front of them, like, you can handle this, and we do popcorn or whatever the allergy allows and stuff. Because a lot of our children have allergies or ADHD or learning disabilities and stuff. Our homeschool children especially, we have a child that's been with us for multiple years. He's about to age out, and we said, no, let's keep you. But he self-regulates, and so he would not be able to attend regular school, but he's able to attend our science program. And he is brilliant, brilliant.
So the families don't have to pay to go and do all that?
Some of our programs are pay. I usually ask for a little bit of buy-in, because if not, they don't show up. Teen Science Cafe is free. Teen Catalyst, they actually get a stipend at the end of the year for being the leaders, and they don't have to pay. Our family Spanish program was free. Earth Day is obviously free. We did a naturalist series that we got with Wells Fargo grant that was free. So about a third of our programs are free, but homeschool is $20 a week. Summer camp we do charge. our Little Learners, which is an hour and a half drop-off, it's $10. We just do as a little buy-in as we can to, you have to have a little bit of buy-in or you never show up.
Yeah.
Do you do quite a bit with our rec department?
We do. So that's a part of the Lego department. I wrote a grant last year with that ARPA money that all 21 or 23 of our elementary schools, however many elementary schools we have in Onslow County, gets our planetarium for free for one grade level. In addition to writing that, I also wrote that YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, and Parks and Rec got it for all free. So all of the Parks and Recs after-school programs have received it. And YMCA and Boys and Girls Club, we're just waiting on getting through the schools now.
Because I was wondering if we could do some of this stuff outside, but you're
Yes,
doing
we
stuff
do.
outside.
We do bring a lot of stuff. We can bring our science stations, do on-site field trips and stuff for them.
You're doing a great job. Your whole team is doing a great job.
They're
Thank
amazing.
you.
I have a couple of questions for you. In terms of support for your STEM and your STEAM programs, have Onslow County Schools worked with you in terms of earmarking Carl Perkins funding for CTE programs as it relates to STEM and STEAM to support your programs that you currently have?
No, on our board is Michelle Chadwick, who's the Advanced Education and STEAM K through 12 coordinator. She did receive a grant that we're a partner in for the Moonshot Girls. It's called STEAM Fellow. Shoot, she just sent it to me today, so I'm sorry. But we are partnering, it's girls 7 to 12, grades 7 to 12, and so we will have that at Sturgeon City, and we're a partner. But we don't really receive funding for them from CTE in any way.
And you mentioned that, again, from I think you said from, was it 7 years old to 12 years old, there is, seems to be less interest for those female girls with STEM and STEAM?
So in elementary school, it is completely equal. The passion and the love is there. The height of girls' entertainment or excitement about STEAM or STEM is 11. The decline at 15 is astronomical. So that's why we have to find whatever's happening between 11 to 15 and change it. Their scores are the same in STEM courses, but they are less confident. They doubt themselves. In any research project that I've read, it's almost about the doubt, not the ability. And so it's changing that mindset and stuff like that. And so that's why Moonshot Girls, who the school got a grant from, and are pushing so hard for that age group right now to figure out what is happening there and how we can fix it. One of my biggest things that I do at Sturgeon City is inclusive. So we make sure that our STEM future, our STEAM future looks inclusive and represents us. That's why I have the Spanish program. That's why I have the low sensory program. That's why I have the girls now, and then also the Black scientists. We are trying to figure out how those minorities can have that so that there is no non-inclusivity of the degrees in the future.
Do you have guest speakers that come in and speak to the population of girls that we're finding that decrease in to help motivate them and to help boost their interest?
Not yet. So that's just what I did for Black scientists. I had 4 local STEM speakers. So I had a pharmacist, a veterinarian, a family medicine, and then a medical, community medical clinic director. I'm going to be doing the same thing for girls. So I'm just right now in the planning. I just don't do things in like Girls Month, and I don't do things in Black History Month. I do things outside of those months. So probably in the fall, I'm going to have a girl thing. I just haven't quite cultivated what I want it to be, but we do have a lot of STEM professionals come in. Teen science is where our 13 to 17-year-olds listen to STEM professionals speak about their pros and cons, their career, their pathway, why they chose it, be honest about their cons, and then they get hands-on education. So I would say that's probably 40% girls. So it's not perfect, but it's getting there.
Can you explain the CSI effect that you were telling me about?
Yes, so CSI effect is, it happened probably I don't know, 2018, think of that time frame, right when CSI was getting big, and Bones and Rizzoli and Isles, think of all of those women forensic shows. So the CSI effect shows that representation matters. It is a perfect storm of, with that, girls were able to see strong women professionals and leaders doing their job correctly and on TV where they were getting represented. So while in 2021, our computer science number was somewhere around 19%, our engineering numbers were around 20%, our forensic science is either 74 or 84% girls for graduate and undergraduate degrees. So the representation of the CSI effect knows that representation matters. And so that's why we try to show a diverse representation.
Okay. Well, if you're thinking about guest speakers, we do have an African-American NASA astronaut that lives in the state of North Carolina. So if you're willing to,
Please.
we can talk.
Please. I'll jump at that.
All right.
I'm waiting for the beekeepers to come back.
They're there a lot.
Yeah, because I didn't know they were like nationally known from Onslow County.
They're there every Earth Day. And then we also have them come for usually one of our summer camps. We cannot go on field trips because of the insurance cost. So we have in-house field trips, and so we bring in people each week to talk about whatever we make one day where we do like a giant field trip ourselves in-house, and then we bring in outside people that will do a different day of in-house field trips. And so usually we have a beekeeper during one of the weeks. So they enjoy it a lot. They also enjoyed the honey, so.
That too.
So y'all do some forensic studies there also?
No, we do.
I heard you mention fingerprints and blood spatter.
Yes, so we have 2 middle school camp weeks. One of that week is marine biology and one is forensic science academy. So we do quite a lot of forensic science academy, and we're gonna have one for the adults too. So come on out for that night. But we're gonna examine blood splatter, how they fall, boot prints, fingerprints, all of that stuff associated with it.
If you need anybody, you can help.
I would appreciate that.
I taught forensic science for 11 years.
I know, but we believe me, our middle school camps are full. They filled up incredibly quickly. Our first and second grade in our middle school camps were packed solid very quickly. Forensic science is we do a lot of nights of forensic science because we know it's going to get a lot of kids, and the interest is there. We have some of our smartest kids that did Ignite STEM, and Onslow County Schools had it, and they just knew they had the murderer, just knew it, and they did not. So we are very happy to trick them. So we want confidence, but we also want failure, because science is failure. Science is learning from your failures, and so that's a big proponent of what we also do. A lot of these kids nowadays, you can't make mistakes. Testing is all about not making mistakes. Learning is all about not making mistakes. Sturgeon City, you can make a mistake and you can grow from it and learn from it and develop from it, because that hypothesis isn't working. We have something called ferrofluid. Ferrofluid was created by a guy at NASA. We teach it with sound because it moves to the vibrations of sound. But what I tell them every time I teach them about it, or we teach them about it, is he failed. This guy from NASA failed in what ferrofluid was supposed to be. But now it's used in all of these things. And so we teach them failure is not wrong. It's a step and stuff. So it's a big deal to us.
Fail forward.
Keep persistent, critical thinking. So that's what science is. It's digging in. So.
Very interesting.
Thank you. Again, like I said, it sounds like you really got it going on down there. So.
Definitely moving forward.
This fits into quality of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt.
You kicked me off.
That's the hook.
That's the hook.
Look at that. I'll change the screen for you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
They were going to enroll in class if you stayed up any longer.
Okay.
So we thought, Mayor, that flowing right in from that presentation on Sturgeon City would then take us into our New River Institutes based on the work that the council accepted last year and then for the last 25 years. So Pat's going to give us the update here as we talk about the history and then talk about the work that we're getting ready to embark upon here in the next couple of weeks.
Yes. So thank you. Following Lisa is a hard act, but I will tell you, 25 years ago, we always said if we built it, they would come. So there's proof. And yes, I've been here that long. I am honored to talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart, and those are the institutes, which is now called the New River Institutes, but in the beginning, they were called the Sturgeon City Institutes because sturgeon are indigenous to the New River. They are bottom dwellers, and until we cleaned up the New River from top to bottom, they were not going to return, but they are back, and so we're very excited. The reason why we started the institutes 25 years ago was to draw youth in to install pride and not only themselves, but in their fellow classmates. We wanted to create and draw out good leadership skills and show that students could succeed in whatever you do, especially in the environment. For us, we made science fun. We put them out in the field. It's all hands-on learning. It is not from a book. It's not from a screen. Instead of talking about a blue crab, we hand them one. We catch one and we hand them the blue crab. Not really. We don't let them pinch them. We hold the pinchers. It was all about bringing students together within Onslow County, because it's free to all of them, to make them better stewards of our environment, to come back to Jacksonville as an option, not as a requirement after graduation, meaning we had such a great community and they are so engaged in it that they want to return here. They want to be part of our workforce. They want to be part of our education. More importantly, the synergy with our environment. So we are celebrating the 25 years of the Institutes in 3 weeks. June 24th through the 28th marks our 25th year of our Institutes. It all started way back when with just a few. Leadership Institute was one of them, Science was one of them, and believe it or not, we used to have a Forensic Science Institute. And we had literally blood and everything, and there was a murder case. So it's all coming back around. We use Onslow County teachers. We use teachers from White Oak High School. We use teachers from Newbridge Middle School. So we use our local teaching staff. We also have scientists that work with these students. We have artists that work with these students. Students come from all over, as including the base. At the 25-year mark, we have touched or educated. We've educated over 6,000 students for 1 week. During the summer, we've reached over 6,000 students. And some of the programs that you see here, we have the science, we used to have the advanced marine biology, we had the art, we had the forensic science, public safety, engineering, and leadership.
They were in the water, right?
Do what, sir?
Are those kids in the water?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that is actually the Science Institute, and that is at Landap, and it's in our lily pond. And we first do water quality sampling, and then we give them seine nets and dip nets, and we actually compare and contrast freshwater fish to saltwater fish. So yes, they're in the water, but they're safe. 25 years. We're safe. So So we've had a lot of partners over the last 25 years. We could never name all of them, but Sturgeon City by far is one of the most important. In the beginning, the city developed these institutes. It then transferred over to Sturgeon City, and it's now come back to the city. But we are still a collaborative partner that are all trying to pull in the same direction. We all have the same goal. Some of the challenges were during COVID. That's probably one of the reasons why the city took back over is insurances got difficult and classrooms got difficult. Those are our challenges, is we literally are outgrowing the site. Who would have ever thought we would say that? But we're glad COVID is over with too, because trying to space everybody out 6 feet, all wearing masks, that wasn't fun. But we still did it. We still made it through those years. So what are we doing this year? Last year, we renamed it to the New River Institute. As you will see, the original logo in the top right-hand corner is also mimicked within the new logo. You still have land affecting water and vice versa. You still have the swirls between the two, and then you still have the infamous sturgeon, which has returned back to the New River within the new logo. We had 3 institutes last year: science, public safety, and art media. We introduced leadership that we would have that full institute this year. It is now running, so we have 4. We are reintroducing the concept of an engineering institute this year to have a full engineering institute next year. So we will go back up to 5 institutes instead of just 4. And then last year we had about 75 students. We're going to have between 90 to 100 this year. We hope to increase that number next year. We also are celebrating the 25-year celebration, of which council and mayor and everybody will be getting an invitation. That will be on Wednesday from 5 to 7 at Sturgeon City. And it's going to be a very important award ceremony. It's celebrating what the city made the vital decision to do a long time ago. It's something we should be very, very proud of. Other municipalities cannot brag like this. And future plans, again, we want to reintroduce engineering next year. We are actually talking about expanding it from 1 week back to 2 weeks, because in the beginning it was 2 weeks. And then we're looking at other probabilities for institutes to go forward, just to increase the numbers. And I will tell you this, I was fortunate enough, we have 30 students in the science, and I was going through and calling moms today, and I actually got up with a grandmother to see if the granddaughter was going to attend the institute. And that grandmother literally said, "Do you remember my daughter?" And I won't say the name, but she attended your science institute a very long time ago, and now her daughter is attending. So I'm talking to a grandmother. The mother attended the institute. Now the daughter is attending the institute. That's, again, something that the city should be very proud of. And I believe that's it, unless you have any questions.
My son attended one. He's turning 30 this year.
The daughter was 33.
Very good.
Yeah, and what we look at, Mayor, is that continued partnership, as Pat mentioned, going from 75 up to 100. Our goal is it's endless, right? The number of students that we can engage in our institutes during the summer, as long as we can grow capacity, which goes back to the space and the availability and the teachers and programming and funding, I think we're going to have more interest from our students. I believe that the more students we can engage at this level, the more they're going to be engaged for many years to come. So I think that's the stories that we hear from Pat over probably a 25-year period, and then to have this moving forward, you just don't want to miss out on that opportunity to offer a program to kids. And if we can create new programs, I think we add it, and we just keep moving forward as aggressively as possible to activate these kids during the summer to keep them engaged at a different level. So if you want to teach a class, Mayor, I'm sure we can get you through background. There may be some challenges, but well, the background's still an issue, but
That exposure means a lot. You just never know who's going to find out the cure for cancer or something of that nature. And I mean, nights of, now we have people staying overnight here. That's incredible.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think about this as part of our engagement effort, but again, the partnership makes it an opportunity for us to engage people in a different atmosphere than our regular programs that may be recreational programs, they may be athletic programs, but to engage people in something that might spur them to go bigger and better. We're excited.
I just need to find out how to plant a garden without without feeding the deer. How do we do that?
Some things can't be taught. Just have to accept it. And we're going to have to move on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We let them go first, Mayor, in case they didn't want to listen to our debt policies.
You will probably not want to listen. I was thinking it's a little funny that everything was so good and exciting, and now I have to come along and talk about debt investments, and I apologize in advance.
Can we go to?
Yes.
Okay, now that's just hurt my feelings. So this evening, thank you for having me to talk about more finance policies. As you know, we have been trying to review and update some of our policies, and there are some policies that we actually didn't have that have been sort of bubbling to the surface out of others as we talk about the 400 acres and things like that. So I'll start with the debt management policy. I don't know if it's the worst or the better one of the two, but we'll find out, I guess.
Just say all debt is bad and go on.
You can leave. Right, Mayor?
I know the
You just missed this
investment
one guy.
policy is your favorite. Again, why do we need a debt management policy? It's a GFOA recommended best practice. The policy establishes certain debt management ratios for debt allowance, and it provides specific guidelines for us that helps us establish and maintain affordable levels of debt. So it kind of helps us determine what we can actually afford to borrow and pay without affecting our day-to-day operations. In March, when the financial advisor came and went through the capital plan model, she reiterated the fact that we really need to have some formal adopted policies before we go out for a large borrowing, like for the 400 acres. To come up with the staff recommended policy that was part of your agenda, we, as with all of our other policies, I always say we look at other debt policies of North Carolina peers to see where their ratios are and what ratios they're using. We review the recommendations set by GFOA and the LGC. Sometimes they will have specific policies, but even if they don't have an example policy, they'll have guidelines of certain things that should be included in your policy, important items not to leave out. And then because we had already been working with the financial advisor on the revenue bonds for the water sewer and for the capital planning model, I did send her the draft policy just to make sure that we sort of had everything included and that, you know, our ratios made sense. What is significant about this particular policy is obviously it is new to the city. We've not had a debt management policy before. It's been discussed at times when we've borrowed money, but this will be the first time that we've had a formal policy. It provides guidelines for the specific guidelines for the issuance and management of the debt. Really, it goes into the term of the debt, you know, won't be more than 25 years or the useful life of the asset. You know, we talked at one point about a fire truck and if we could borrow, you know, for 20 years or 25 years on a fire truck and the reasons that you wouldn't do that. You know, if the fire truck's not going to last, you don't want to do that. 10 years for land. What is our cash and debt position now? What should we cash fund? What should we borrow for? And then the debt structure and, of course, the cost, the interest. What will it cost the city and what are the different, you know, what financing options should we go with? And then it establishes specific debt service limits, which we'll get into those. And then it defines the responsibility of the city officials, which.
That puts out who goes to jail if we don't pay our bills. Okay.
And it's.
The mayor and the city manager.
Yeah.
Right?
It's really me, but it says I'm not going down alone. Taking some people with me.
We're clear, Mayor. If you leave it and just send her, we're all good with that. We voted as staff, and this is the way we're going with it.
The policy specifically says that finance has primary responsibility, but I will take other department heads and financial advisors down with me.
That's the spirit.
Teamwork.
So in the policy, we put some targets in there that we felt were adequate and, really comparing again to other policies and then talking with the financial advisor and then also looking at the capital planning model that they had presented back in March. And these were the targets that we put in there. Debt per capita at less than $2,000 per person, debt service to operating, which is the annual cost of your debt service, the percentage of your operating expenditures. So that's probably, I would tell you, is the most, and I think the financial advisor would agree, that's the most important, because you'll see shortly that the other numbers can be very high, but that one currently, because of the size of our budget, is going to restrict how much borrowing we can do. But it is important that we can pay the borrowing back. So, and then our percentage of debt of our assessed valuation, which is 3%. Now, you notice actually the financial advisor, she gave me the percentages of the other comparable municipalities, and some do not have a debt per capita target. They just have the two. Most everyone has the debt service to operating because, again, that's the most important. But the debt per capita is something that places use because it's easy to understand, for a citizen, how much debt per person. For us, staff has had some discussion that because of our population and the fact that it's a little misleading, maybe it's not best for us to have it, but I wanted to include it, and then we can discuss how you feel about having it in there or not. This slide is just to show what the policy levels would be compared to our current levels. So if we're saying our debt is going to be less than $2,000 per person, what is it right now? With our FY23 financial statements, we were at $208 per person. So we don't have a whole lot of debt right now, which is good. Mr. Warren would agree, right, Mr. Warren? And then our net direct debt as a percent of our assessed valuation is only at 0.3% right now. So we're well under the 3%. And then we're at 5% for our debt service of our budget. And of course, suggested policy, we have at 15% right now. And this gets just a little bit further into the numbers to show you that right now we have about $14.6 million in debt. This is general fund debt. And the policy level would allow us, just for the per capita, to go up to $140 million. Now, this policy wouldn't, first of all, it doesn't operate in a vacuum. We still have the fund balance policy sitting over there. So, we're considering a lot of things. This doesn't mean we should go out and borrow $140 million.
Correct.
But it just shows that right now we have 14.6, and if we were only looking at the debt per capita, we could go up to 140. And the direct debt as a percentage of the assessed valuation is very similar. It's very high. Now, when you look at the debt service as a percentage of our budget, you see right now our annual debt service is around $3 million. Policy level would put us around $9 million. How much debt would that be? That's hard to say because it really would determine the type of finance and the terms, the interest, and all of that. But when the financial advisors did the capital planning model, I know we played with a number of $50 million at one point. That was scenario 4, and that was had our debt at $60.8 million, and we were right at the 15% there. So I'm thinking using just numbers that we put in to play around for the 400 acres, it'd be somewhere around that. So it'd be way under $139 or $140 million. And again, if you recall, even with that $50 million, the financial advisor was like, your fund balance is going to take a hit unless you do a tax increase. So again, to say that doesn't mean you can run out and, borrow a whole bunch of money and it'd be a good idea. So for this policy, next steps, I am looking for a little bit of guidance on the ratios. And, if you want to have all three of them left in, if you're good with that, if you prefer to see the per capita number go away because the population number, if you're good with 15%, or I don't think we should go higher than that, but if you want it higher or lower, any other recommendations, suggestions, comments?
Mayor, one of the things that we looked at on the slide that showed our market peers, I don't know if you want to go back to that slide. The interesting thing, as Sabrina pointed out, was Greensboro shows a debt per capita, but then they don't have the debt service to operating. So at some point, Greensboro's decided their per capita number is more important for their policy. One of the things that we're looking at in the policy, first, we know we need a debt policy, and we're making progress. But the conversation is, which number do we need to have, or which numbers do we need to have to balance it out? The challenge is, if we come out with a debt number and it fits into one of these categories that follows in the debt policy, but then it doesn't fit in the other, then council would have to make a policy to change to make it fit. So part of our dialogue is, why would Greensboro think that the debt per capita meant more than the debt to operating? I believe we're confident that the debt service to operating is more important. They're not more restrictive. You saw the numbers, 140 million versus 139 million. They seem to equate the same way, but there could come a point in time where those numbers fluctuate and create a challenge or a benefit. So part of that direction that we look for here is, and the valuation, that's something that we feel is a pretty solid number, but we need to know if council is going to be confident with this policy for us to bring it back to you for that consideration.
I like to just see the debt service stay and just get rid of the per capita, because I think for here it's a little bit harder to track the per capita. I think Greensboro might have a little more stable, as far as number of people there. Because with the military, that'd be kind of hard to do, I would think.
Well, with Greensboro too, they have multiple schools, so they're going to have some challenges on the per capita, but they don't have a restriction on the taxable value for their ad valorem tax as well. So I think it would be interesting to see what their comparison numbers equal in terms of their numbers. But as I said, they're the only one in the group that really say, I would think that Greenville might look at that similar kind of concept, but Greenville doesn't have the number of schools that Greensboro has. And so you look back at their institutions, Greensboro is very dense in terms of number of colleges and universities and training schools.
I agree with Logan. I think debt per capita is, it's a way to measure, but it adds no value compared to the operating and the other measurement. I think 2 of the 3 is plenty. You're coming out with numbers that are, apples to apples, and it's an unnecessary measure. I think you're right, the operating is more important, especially if there were to be declines or shifts.
Definitely those are truer numbers when you look at those.
Yeah, and that's our thought process. Well, just the concept of using per capita, when we do have a dialogue with a citizen, a lot of times you think about, how much are you accounting for? Well, I'm accounting for less than $2,000 as a person, and so if you're up to $3,000, then okay, that makes something. But for our thought, looking at it based on our operating budget and our debt service, I think you're at a great place in that direction.
You alluded to the 400-acre property. Say, for instance, whenever we move forward on that, how that would impact
Oh, how would the 400
Yeah.
acre? Yeah, I mean,
Were you talking about just the purchase of the land at the time?
no, I was talking about just the project. If when we.
Some projected
Right.
investment.
When we brought the capital plan and the financial advisor in to go through the capital plan, and she plugged different scenarios in.
Okay.
And she stopped when she got to 50 million, because that's when we really started to exceed the 15%.
She was bobbing his truck out, was what happened.
Yeah.
Fell out of the chair, literally. Mayor, and that's why it's important to look back at the fund balance policy that council's already adopted, and then the debt policy. We have to marry those together. That's the same challenge you have if you have a conflicting ordinance that happens in two different areas, just like we recently dealt with our bow and arrow and BB. You see, there are companion ordinances. They're one in itself. You're going to have to review both to make some kind of decision like
When
that.
we were, and this is public record, when we were doing the, looking at the 400 acres and the development, we said the build-out cost would be somewhere approximately between 100 and 150, right?
Yes, sir. That was our,
That's in millions of dollars.
yes, sir.
Cities.
Portion.
Right.
And we were up to around $1 billion in total investment, 850 from what you're recalling back, Mayor.
Some of that's private.
Yes, sir. The majority of it's going to be private. But that goes back to when we're having these discussions, if we use this policy to manage the debt, which is needed because we have to have some oversight, then when we're looking at how do you make that fully funded project work, well, you've got to have other funding partners to bring it together. And a lot of people are going to look and say, well, the city needs to go ahead and go here. What our thought is, if we have this policy that council has thought about in terms of not just a policy in time, but an actual policy that's going to be used here in the next few years, then that's the barometer by which we explain that back to the citizens. This is our debt capacity. The model that Sabrina's talking about, that's the same model we've been using for years with water and sewer, and that's a great model to give us that guide. Now to look at it in terms of capital projects on a general fund side, that's incredible. That gives us that projection for what it's going to cost to have additional debt.
Debt is a tool. It's not the answer, it's a tool, but you don't want to ever be in a position where you're overcommitted and being wasteful. That's not good leadership, it's not good conservative management. So I think it's great that we establish some guidelines. It's smart. There's a reason it's recommended, right?
This is good foresight, that's for sure.
And I will say, I should have said at the beginning, but, the financial advisor kind of touched on it when we were talking about the 400 acres, but when we go to the LGC to borrow, it is important that we have a debt service policy. That is one of the first things that they'll ask. They do want to see that you are managing debt.
Responsible.
Yeah, that you're being responsible. So that is how this one sort of got bumped up to the forefront. This one and the fund balance policy both.
Yeah, if you're good with those comments, then what we'll do is we'll amend that policy, bring that back at the next one, and we will focus on, if overall the council's good with this, we'll focus on the two categories and remove the per capita category, Mayor, if that is the general direction. If we come back at the next meeting and you change your mind, our plan is to bring it to you on a consent item. I encourage you just to pull it and we can rediscuss it at the next meeting. We'll make sure that Sabrina's ready to
I think most everybody's kind of clear on it,
Yeah,
favorable.
I think so.
Like I say, if somebody wants to pull it, they can pull it.
As long as you leave it so that the finance director is the accountable person, staff supports it entirely.
I'm pretty aware that I am, but just remember, I have partners.
Good news is that partners have agreed to visit you. As long as you get they get visitation rights, I think they'll.
Okay, so we'll move on to the investment policy. Again, why do we need an investment policy? We actually do have an investment policy, but it hasn't been updated, and I think it was 20 years was the last update, and a few things have changed since then. But it establishes some parameters for investing funds. It gets into detail about specifically what we're allowed to invest in, which we are very restricted by North Carolina state statute, and the maximum allocations per investment type and the maturity terms and all of that. And then it discusses how we will select financial dealers and brokers that we work with. The investment policy is important because it identifies our three main investment objectives, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And it also serves as an important communication tool. It's important for, staff and council and the public, but also it's what what our bondholders and anyone, that when we're trying to borrow money, rating agencies, they would review our investment policy as well. It demonstrates that, like you said, with the debt, that we're, being responsible with the public funds. Again, we compared investment policies of peers, reviewed GFOA recommendations. In this particular case, GFOA has a sample policy on their website, which is very specific about the things that should be included, so we did follow that. And then we did a thorough review of the current policy that we do have for the necessary updates. Significant update is that the policy now clarifies the objectives. We have three main objectives when it comes to investments: safety, liquidity, and then yield. In that order, safety is first. Because we are so restricted by North Carolina general statute, we're safe. We don't really have any option to be unsafe. The state tells us exactly what we can invest in, and they're all safe investments. But we also have to make sure that we're liquid. We have to structure our investments so that we're anticipating the cash needs that we have now. We have to know at all times what wires are going out of the bank next week, how much cash do we have to have, and then making sure that we have that cash and then we're investing the excess so that we are getting the yield, not letting it sit in the bank. And then make sure that we have enough that's liquid where, like North Carolina, we invest a lot in North Carolina Capital Management Trust. That's because I can call on the phone and draw down funds today. In the event of emergency, they'll be in the bank. Then we ladder out the rest of our investments that aren't in the trust, so that way they're maturing at different dates. They're still mostly short-term, but that way they're laddered and the funds are maturing at different times. They're coming in, and then we can reinvest or have the cash should we need it at that time. And then, of course, the yield. Only after the first two are covered, then we worry about, what rate we're getting, how much income we're getting off our investments. I just wanted to put this up to kind of give an example of that, because this is the last quarterly report that we did on the investments. And, we've talked a couple of times about that very last investment that we have at the 1.04% rate. And I know it hurts Mr. Warden's feelings, but this is a perfect example of how we have the laddered maturities. You can see they're maturing at different times. We invested in that. It was a longer term investment that we did, and you can see the date on it was December 21. We typically don't go that long, but sometimes when you have the cash and you're trying to ladder it out, that does happen. And so we're still stuck with that little guy on there for a little bit longer, but I just put that up to show that. And sometimes you can see the rates are like 5.48 and 5.68. They're investing, they're maturing at different times. If we have something else that's also maturing in April, but the rate is higher, but then, sometime between 4.23 and 5.1, we have a lower rate, but it's in, if there's a maturity date in between those two, we may go with that one, because we're just trying to always remain liquid and not focus so much on the yield, if that makes sense. So the main takeaway I just want everyone to understand is that the yield is last behind the safety and the liquidity.
Does those rates ever change, the percentage?
Yes, they change.
What determines whether or not?
These don't change.
Okay, those are constant.
Right,
okay.
Right, but when we invest, the new ones are different. One of the biggest updates for us is that we now have the option to invest in a commingled local government investment tool. Previously, we had only the North Carolina Capital Management Trust, which is more of a mutual fund. But in 2021 and 2023, investment pools were formed by local governments. I think one of them was Wake and Buncombe County. And basically what that does is it creates a pool so that you can pool your cash and invest so your returns are greater. But they can only still invest, just like the trust, they can only invest in the same things that we can invest in. But because it's not just our money and now you have your money pooled with other people, the returns are a little bit greater. And they, of course, we have a cash and investment person, but investments isn't her only job. So she doesn't monitor investments day in and day out like that. Whereas, these pools are monitored. They have people that work.
Who manages the pool?
They have a board of advisors, and I'm sure they have staff, but it's formed by local government, so it's kind of complicated. But the government's formed into like an interlocal agreement. They created the pool, then they got a legal counsel and financial advisors and a board of trustees, and then I'm fairly certain they have employees at this point, but it's.
Have they established a track record yet for comparison?
Yes, yes. Well, established, these two were in North Carolina, established in 2021 and 2023, so they're fairly new. The returns, again, they can still only invest in the same things that we can, so, the risk is you always have a risk when you invest, but their risk is the same as ours. But the returns have been a little bit better than.
And they're still open. That investment pool that opened in 21 is it's not like a closed-end mutual fund. It's an open-ended mutual fund.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what if you've looked into it and you and your staff are considering doing some of that?
Yeah, we're just considering, it's another option similar to the trust. It's liquid, just like the trust is. I don't know about, I think one of them is same day, one of them is next day, but it's more liquid than, commercial paper. So it's something that we have been considering. When we go to the conferences, they've been talking to us, since they started. And in the beginning, it's kind of like, well, they're new, let's see what happens. Of course, before we would go that route, we would have to come back to council. There's like an interlocal agreement. It's not called that, but that's basically what it is to join the pool. You can't just sign up and invest. There's some things that you have to do to be a part of the pool. But it is something that we would like to look into, and we haven't up to this point even been able to do that because our policy didn't allow it.
So the benefits there are volume of investment money and
Yeah, the benefits are that it's still liquid.
expertise, financial management.
It's still liquid. It's very similar to the trust, but it's just a way for us to diversify. And the rate has been a little bit better, so maybe the yield will be a little bit better. Just gives us another option.
But there's technically no fee. They just adjust their rate that they pay.
Right. So prior to the investment pools, the North Carolina Capital Management Trust was the only liquid option that you had for investments. So a lot of municipalities are joining these pools because it is good to have diversified portfolio. And then another significant update is that it clarifies our maturity and allocation maximums by investment type, which is a little bit more detailed than I think the previous policy. We don't invest more than 50% in any type of investment except for the Capital Management Trust and or U.S. Treasuries. And we don't have any term greater than 5 years. And you can see clearly why on that. It might work out sometimes, but sometimes not so much. So. And then what I did want to say, I mentioned that prior to joining any type of investment pool, we would have to bring a resolution at an upcoming meeting. So it would be something that you all would be aware of. But if there are no comments or questions, then just like the debt policy, we'll bring this one back at an upcoming meeting. I would plan to put it on consent unless something happened.
Any questions? Thanks, Brenda.
Hopefully that wasn't too painful.
It was riveting.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Mayor, you look at those three priorities, as Sabrina was saying, you've got the safety and liquidity and the yield. The yield's the only one you can respend. The safety and liquidity is how we do business, and that's how we protect the money that we already have from any of those failures. So it's exciting to see the policies get an update and to be able to move forward.
It's exciting.
You didn't get the exciting part? We can redo it, Mr. Bittner.
I haven't had so much fun since we had a finance officer that invested in zero coupon bonds.
Maybe I need to put on my cheerleader.
We got those new chairs, Mayor, for some council members to get them re-energized.
Yeah. You press a little button and get them.
Mayor, I've got a stronger finish if you're good with that. We'll just go ahead and we have one city moment. We did have a couple items we wanted to bring to your attention. The pressure's on now because I thought they were exciting, but I'm not sure if Mr. Bittner's going to enjoy them. Wow, we'll start with this one. They had the Jacksonville Osprey home opener this weekend.
Great shot.
And there's a couple of shots from the drone. Josh was able to take these pictures. We're estimating anywhere from 2,200 to 2,800 people inside of the ballpark now, not just Jack Amyette, but the Jack Amyette ballpark, which was phenomenal this weekend. Saturday was their home opener. You'll see the teams lined up, some fans around the outside. The new bleachers, kudos to the TDA. This guy,
In the dirt.
he's been working on a splitter for 4 months now. And no, it's not a video, thank heavens.
Thank God.
But I saw it, and I think it was a strike. So we'll just go with that one.
Swung at it anyway. Let me interject something right now. That ball field was immaculate.
It was.
They did such a great job on prepping that field.
Mayor, you remember when they came and approached us, when the Patinos approached us, they came because they said the quality of Jack Amyette is top notch, and that has not changed. The Parks crew has done an amazing job. The Patinos did a really good job. TDA, Recreation, Wally's team, the police and the fire. We had so many partners making this happen. No one helping pitch development, but we had all these people here. You have the Patinos here on the right side of the screen, as well as the went to the bottom. The military chaplain over here on this side. But it's so good to have the community come out. And then they had another game on Sunday. So you had a Saturday and a Sunday game. They're playing tonight right now against Kinston. That's a fantastic game for us moving forward because that's our communities. So hopefully both communities now having an Old North State League team shows some of that. So if our team travels outside the region, you can't make it to that, you could go see Kinston's team play. So we want to encourage our fans. I feel like they sold more memorabilia for Ospreys in the weeks coming up. Seemed like everybody had something on at that time. So hopefully members of the community can come out and check out the game. Hopefully tonight has a good turnout. But what an excellent partnership between city, county, a local affiliate, our TDAs, our Chamber of Commerce, the Marines. All partners played a huge role, and it was a lot of fun and success.
Also, tell them what the estimated attendance was.
Yes, I think we were, the numbers anywhere from 2,200 to 2,800 just for Saturday's home opener. That's probably going to be an anomaly. The downside of that is hot dogs sold out by the third inning.
When did tacos go?
Well, all I know is Miss Edwards afterwards stood in that line for an hour and 3 minutes
And did not get a hot dog.
and was 2 people away.
2 people.
2 people.
So if y'all would let her eat tonight, she'd be thankful. But
She got one
the wonton sold out by the 4th inning. All the food trucks sold out, and they're going to rotate those.
I think
So
that was a learning experience.
that was great.
Well, it was just a huge response.
Faces from the crowd. That guy in the middle donated money from the county to put more stuff there next year. So we have his word.
Buy some bleachers, I heard.
Word on the street is, Mayor, that the county wants to add more, but this bottom right-hand corner and the left-hand side, the kids that were there had a great time, and we sat amongst a lot of the kids and saw them running around. What a fun event for our community. It adds another aspect to what we have in Jacksonville. 26 home games, so if you can make it out for a home game, you only have 26 opportunities. You've missed 2 already. Tonight you're probably missing, so now you're down to 23. So come check it out.
If I didn't know there was a game tonight, I'd have been there.
Mayor, I was going to tell you, but Mr. Bittner said you couldn't go tonight. So, and I'll tell you, it's great to have our people were out in groves to be there, not just for the opener, but the next game. Tons of people out. What a fantastic response for everybody during this time. Some people could not attend this because, as Mr. Sosa said, they may have been at the state soccer championship. So kudos to our girls soccer team, Jacksonville High School, who are bringing home a state championship. That, just like baseball, it doesn't happen, so now it's happening. So much is going on. We may not have won that night, but we did win our first game of the season, and we are right up there in the top of the standings. The sponsors around the outfield, if you've not seen them, that's impressive. So for all the sponsors who have stepped up to support this new venture in the community, thank you for understanding that we're doing this as a community build. Very exciting event. For this weekend, we had a myriad of Memorial Day activities. We had the Candlelight Vigil at Vietnam Veterans Memorial. That was hosted by Rolling Thunder Chapter North Carolina 5, and that remembers our prisoners of war and our missing in action. These are things that we do because we are a host city and because we take pride in being a partner to not only our United States Marine Corps, but to all of our military service men and women. Activities throughout the weekend. These stay at Friday evening. You can see multiple people coming through and seeing the names etched on the glass as you go around the Veterans Memorial at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. The Ride for Freedom, also put on by Rolling Thunder Ride for Freedom. Our police and fire were both active. The county sheriff's office was active. What an awesome opportunity to be able to show that camaraderie coming through the motorcade, coming through Jacksonville. The flag furled that size. Kudos to making that happen because it's just such a symbol in the community. It's great to have our flagpoles always up, but when you can put a little extra in a great fire truck and appreciate the men and women coming down the street, I just think that's something we cannot have enough of in our community. The appreciation, the love, the thought, we remember all the time. And the pride of these riders through town, there's a camaraderie there that is unparalleled. So great opportunity there.
And then sure we'll have a smooth road for them.
Next year, we will have a very smooth road with beautiful medians, and we might have some more business downtown as well as part of our efforts. So good point. We're ready to see that happen. The Memorial Day observance was on Monday and is held at the Carolina Coastal Cemetery and hosted by the Purple Heart Veterans of Beirut Chapter. Plus or minus 300-400 people in attendance because there's a lot of value here and there's a lot of remembrance coming through. The mayor was present there. He did give the keynote. Good job, Mayor, for being able to represent our community. When we're bringing people together, that's a time not only of remembrance, but it's a time of appreciation for our one city. And it really shows that love of community and how we've all come together. You will see our bugler down here, retired Marine bugler. You did have the gun salute from Swansboro, and then you had the flag placement by the volunteers on all of our military graves. I think this is something that we should do year round. I think that's the appreciation that we have, and as a community, we have a lot of these events because it's not just once a year that we appreciate those that have served, it's every single day. So Memorial Day weekend gives us that defined time to appreciate, but I encourage everyone to remember every single day those that have served, those that serve now, and those that will serve in the future. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything? With that, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Aye.